Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Boss Method podcast, hosted by myself, Rich Hughes. So, for tonight, this topic today is all about losing weight versus losing inches. And this was a topic suggestion from one of the ladies inside the Girl Boss Method, inside the crew. So, weekly check in. And yeah, this topic I thought was quite an interesting one because I thought this is something that maybe us as women we can get so lost in week on week and go focusing on weight scales. And again, I've seen it so many times is that some of you ladies are doing brilliantly with logging your weight and logging, the measuring tape inches and stuff. But I want to also kind of like bring it back to why we do either thing and how important both things are. And you can't just look at one thing without looking at everything else. So it's really important to kind of build up and understand the full picture as well when it comes to sort of, losing weight versus inches. So first things first, I'm actually going to ask you ladies before I give you any answers. They're just going to change. Here we go. So I'm going to ask you, understanding your progress beyond the scales, but I'm going to ask you firstly, what makes up our weight? So if anyone wants to kind of, maybe if we get you, there's three of you here with me, maybe if we get one answer from each of you. So Sital, let's ask you first. What's one thing that might make up weight?
I'd say water.
Fab.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lena?
Um, that,
Yeah.
don't know,
Brilliant. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Cool. And Sadaf, anything else?
Muscles.
Yay. Fabulous. Brilliant. So, and those are probably like the big things that we kind of concern ourselves with, right? Especially when we're thinking about body composition changes. So as well as that, you've got, I know it sounds really crazy me saying this stuff, but you've got muscles, you've got water, you've got body fat as well. But you've also got things like, your ligaments and your connective tissue and your skin and your organs and your brain and like all other manner of things as well. So not to say that those things change in weight, but it's just to kind of realize that you are a whole human and there are so many different functions going on and so much makes up a part of mass when we're thinking about that as well. So just to kind of give you some more factual stuff around the heaviest things that we might see. So yes, we're looking at muscle mass firstly. This is the stuff that makes us look toned, and that's what many of us want to have. And again, typically 30 to 40% of our total body weight is muscle, which sounds like a hell of a lot, right? It's a big part of us. And again, when it comes to water weight, 50 to 60% of our total weight. But again, this can be variable depending on our cycles and hydration levels. And then body fat for us women, predominantly in our 30s and 40s, it's going to sit around the 25 to 30% body fat. And it's important to remember that this is an essential part of our health, and body fat is not the enemy. And then bones, bones make up about 15% of our body weight and provide the structure and support that we need. And I think I've not talked much about bones or skeletal health or anything like that, but our bone structure, even from woman to woman, is vastly different. We're going to have different when we're thinking about body shape as well. That skeletal shape is going to show us individually how we all look. And again, whether it's like genetics or it's, how everyone in our family looks and, down to our ethnicity as well. All these things will form a part of our, bones will form a part of our structure, if you like. But yes, I think it's really important to just realize that each component has a purpose, and it makes us who we are. And it's, again, weight is just one piece of the puzzle. So then I thought, let's break it down and work on body fat percentages. But before we go there, when we're looking at fluctuations in weight, the main things are going to be, changes in water, muscle, and sort of other elements as well that are going to be essential for sort of our health and our strength. And it's not always because it's body fat, right? I just really want to run that home. But yeah, let's talk about body fat itself. So healthy body fat ranges help our bodies function. And again, here's what those ranges might typically look like. Okay, so essential fat is literally that. So this is the minimum that we need for our bodies to function. Okay, and this is not for you to go out and about and walk around and function as human, as people, right? And your lives. This is literally in terms of function. This is the essential fat is so important for us to just be alive, right? If we look at it as that. Then when we're thinking about body fat percentages that we might see typically, when you're standing on scales or you're having body fat caliper things done, the little pinchy things that you might use or you might have had done if you've had your metrics taken by someone in person before, very old school way. But again, when we're looking at that, the athletes, you are looking at 14 to 20%. Now, even for myself, at my very, very leanest, I don't think I have ever seen myself drop below 19%. And I would probably say that at that point, I was probably around 21 years old. So very, very lean. And I think even when I competed, I was probably within that fitness range of maybe around 21, 22%. So again, I think when we're thinking about body fat percentages, it quite often, I feel like I've heard men show off about this, that I'm so shredded and I've got so much muscle, I've got minimal fat that, this is the amount of body fat that I've got on me. But yeah, I think it's just really important to understand what averages should be and what healthy means to us as well. But women, we need body fat for so many reasons, and hormonal health is one of those things. This is the reason why we are able to, again, have children if we wish to, because of things like body fat and being able to support human life. So it also helps keep us warm, and it's important for our providing protection for our organs. So, fat is not just this thing that just sits on you and we all dislike. It's really vital for us to have. And again, when we are looking at these percentages, it's not always just about how things look. I think although you might look at this and go, right, that's where I want to be, and I want to be that, I want to be athletic, or I want to be in that fitness range, and I want to be super, super, low in fat. I think it's really important that we think about, our energy levels, our hormones, and our overall wellness. And I think it's really important that you firstly always try and focus on being kind to yourself, especially when we're thinking about building a healthy balance that fits into our lifestyle. And I always want to be mindful of that, because, you could get lean and shredded and whatever as you like. Another thing that happens if we start to drop loads of body fat is we lose our boobs. We lose our boobs and we lose our bums as well. And I know it's great to kind of think, having juicier bottoms these days is definitely the in thing. Having these rounded glutes are the in thing. Everybody wants it, but you are going to be having a certain proportion of fat to be able to maintain that. I don't know how many of you ladies are into bodybuilding, but if you have a look at the most shreddest glutes going. You only have to go and have a look at Mr. Olympias, and they have glutes out of this world that you can literally see every striation on their bums, and they just look weird. So, and they're shredded, okay? They have no fat. So it's really important that we do have body fat. So just to run that home. Okay. And then let's bring it on to muscle versus fat. So, if we're looking at muscle and fat weighing the same. Oh, I've got something here for you. I didn't mean for it to rustle. Muscle and fat doesn't normally rustle. The fat seems to be harder to get out, but I just saw it on my shelf and I thought I have to hold it up. Right. If we are looking at fat and we are looking at muscle and they are the same, muscle is actually 18% denser than fat, which means that it takes up less space, which is why you might notice your clothes fitting better without seeing, a big change on the scales. And then, so when you are losing fat and when you're gaining muscle, you're reshaping your body. And so again, it's like transforming into a healthier, stronger version of yourself. And it's not always going to be shown on, in terms of a difference in the scale weight. But again, I want you to just remember that, with strength, you're building, and we're building our bodies not for just for now, we're building our bodies for the future as well. And when we are thinking about attaining muscle and we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about our old lady selves as well. So all the things that muscle is really important for in terms of function as well. So it's not just, about how we look. It's really important thinking about what it serves and what it's needed for as well. Okay, and then the role of water weight. So water weight can fluctuate by up to 5 pounds, depending on different things here. So hormones can cause water retention, especially around the menstrual phase for some of us. And then again, thinking about high salt meals. So the purpose of salt is to actually retain water. So if you have a day where, let's say that you have done something where you have calorie banked, okay? So for some of you that haven't watched any of the calorie banking training, and we'll go again over this as well soon. We'll talk about this. Let's say we have you in a daily deficit. In that daily deficit, let's say, these are your calories. This is what we want you to hit. Now, it might be that you save 100 to 200 calories per day and portion them out and use them for later in the week. Maybe you want to use them on a Saturday because a Saturday you decide that, you're getting away from the norm and you're going to have a meal out maybe, or some time with friends, and you want to increase your calories. Or maybe it's a day where you know that you can train a lot harder and you'd like to really utilize the extra calories. Now, typically, if you are having restaurant food or you're having what we might see as naughty food or what have you, we might find that those foods are higher in salt. And because of that, you might see a drastic rise on the scales. And it's not to say that's equal to fat, because it definitely isn't. In order to actually put on proper, if you want to put on, sometimes you might weigh yourself the next day and you've gone, oh my God, I've put on a kilo overnight. You haven't put on a kilo overnight because you did not consume, you didn't consume enough calories for that. You did not eat 7,500 calories in one night. You didn't do that. And that's what the 1 kilo of, is equal to in terms of calories. You did not do that. It's very likely that you had saltier food, or, maybe your sleep was a bit crappy, or, it's a certain time of month for you, whatever it is, that can have an effect. Another thing that we might want to consider is, for example, creatine as well. So if you've just started supplementing with creatine and you've been working extra hard in the gym, you may find again, and this is the purpose of creatine, is to actually allow the muscles to hold more water. You may find again that you've got a fluctuation on the scales again. So again, that's just really important to kind of consider as well. So look, water weight is a signal again that maybe your body is protecting you from something. So we are inducing damage when we're training, and maybe some adjustments are needed. Maybe you need to have a rest day. Maybe you need to sleep more. But it's again, it's a temporary change, and quite often if you weigh yourself the next day, you'll find that there's a drop, right? And we're going to come on to some of that as well if you're feeling ready. Okay. And yes, another reason why we might look at calves, abdominal area, and even arms, because they can retain water. Calves especially, for sure. And they can, again, make them feel slightly larger. But it's important for us to measure those things for sure. So yeah, tracking measurements. So again, measuring our body parts are going to give us a real sense of progress. Yes, we've got that sort of, waist to hip ratio. I'm sure you've all heard of that before. Again, this can be a good measure of how fat is distributed or shape is distributed. But again, we want to measure things, and this is why it's really important to have that body tape. And keep one here. Really important to keep that body tape. You can get a little one online. It's super easy. But again, calves, hips, thighs, biceps as well. And I feel like the biceps is a really empowering one, especially if you know that you've been feeling like, you've really been pushing with your workouts and you're feeling stronger, and actually maybe you haven't seen scale weight changes, but you might find that, the peak on your biceps a little bit higher as well. And, that can also feel very empowering. So I just think it's really important to remember tracking those things weekly for sure. I know that it gets hectic and it gets busy, the odd week here and there, that's understandable again when it comes to the body tape measuring, because I get that you've got to do every single part as well. But as long as we're making sure that we've got all of them ticked off, at least once a month, everything is ticked off would be really handy. But weekly waist and hip are going to be really, really, really good as well. And using the scale as a guide and not the goal. Okay. So it can be great as a guidance, and it's just one piece of the puzzle. So we need to kind of think about the scale being a snapshot rather than the whole story. It's a guide that's going to help us understand trends. And, again, this is not measuring and it's not equal to our success or our value. I just want you to remember that as well. It's really important for me to have weight. And I think it's important for you to have weight as well as that guide. And we'll come on to this in just a moment. But I will set your calories and set your deficit based on where you are currently. And all we can use is, averages and guidance when we're thinking about where we should sit you in terms of calories that A, make you feel like you can still function like a human being, and B, they are putting you in a deficit so that we can start dropping, body fat, body weight as well. So yeah, that's really important, which brings me on to my next point. There are some benefits in daily weighing. So quite often the scales can feel a bit scary, and I've seen it before when people might not want to weigh at all because things haven't changed previously, and they've decided, so either it's again before they've joined the program and they've said, I just haven't weighed myself for a long time because it just never changes. Well, there is actually some research to say that weighing daily can help us maintain our long-term progress. And as long as we are not, and it's really important, as long as we are not, it might feel hard at the beginning, But by observing those daily ups and downs, we learn to see it as data and as opposed to sort of judgments on our successes. So the sort of daily weighing can help us stay focused around more of the habits rather than the specific numbers, because when you start to see those weight fluctuations regularly, you can start to understand that these are actually a part of our journey, and it's not, again, reflection of our self-worth. When you start doing that, and if you choose to, and again, we can have that conversation personally, if you choose to, and if there is weight that you are looking to lose, if there is a a larger amount, then I know that some people on the program might be this the very last part for them, that they're just sort of trying to work on more of the toning or the muscle building aspect. That's fine. But for some of us, there might be a real shift in weight needing to come down. By weighing daily, we could argue that actually it starts to build up a bit more of a picture, and no matter what you see online, I don't think I've ever met anyone, unless they're a guy, whose weight literally goes from here at the top, you can see my finger, and then just goes down like this. And I've seen it in myself as well. Right? It goes up, down, 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 up, down. Okay. So it constantly fluctuates, but we know that overall, the main trend is coming down. Right. So I think this is the thing. When you go week on week, arguably week on week, you could be going, oh my God, it just went up or it hasn't changed. But how do we know what's happened on the days prior? And again, how do we know? We don't always eat exactly the same every day. Some of you might do, but we don't always have the same stresses every day. Our sleep isn't always consistently the same every day. And we also know that, for many of us, depending on where we are, our cycles will have an impact on that as well, our menstrual cycles. So I think it's just important. There are many different reasons, but I think it shows that there is value in doing this for sure. So again, coming back to, measuring. So measurements can help beyond the scale. So abdominals and calves, again, they're going to vary when it comes to things like water retention. And again, whether that's to cycle changes and hydration and exercise, as we've mentioned as well. But yeah, I think it's really important that rather than feeling discouraged by that, it's just understanding, well, why am I bloated right now? Or why has that area got more? Why is it bigger right now? And just, us having that conversation, and maybe we need to change something. We need to adapt something. We need to look at something in a bit more detail for sure. And then, as we've mentioned as well, so measuring the waist, your arms, thighs, your biceps, inflection as well. I love seeing a bicep picture. I think we might need to get everyone to show their bicep guns at some point. That'd be brilliant. But yeah, can give you a fuller picture of changes as well. And yeah, toning changes are rewarding, and they help empower us to stay on track. That's definitely what I've seen with some of the ladies for sure. But yeah. Right. And then just sort of finalizing here really is weight loss is just one piece of our progress journey. Inches lost can reflect positive changes in body composition. Scale fluctuations are normal. We don't want to fixate on these. We want to use it as a guide, again, among many other things. And, tracking multiple areas can help provide a fuller, more accurate view of your progress. And another thing that you can do finally is actually just maybe even think about the clothes that you're wearing, or how clothes fit on you. Again, that might be something worth journaling as well. Whether you put that in a book or you want to record it as a note on your check-in, what have you. I think it's really important to when we are looking for composition changes, aesthetic changes, that we are looking at how things fit, trousers, waistbands, how things fit around, tops that you're wearing as well. Do you feel more toned? Do you feel more confident? I think these things, they might feel like small wins, but they are wins in themselves. And I think it's really important that we use those to help spiral motivation and just keep that going. But yeah, that's kind of like, my piece on this topic. For those of you that have been listening, this has been the Girl Boss Method. You can find me on Instagram at Ritu Bra, and we'll see you here next time.